And so, hello there, and welcome to the new Night of the Movies podcast, where I talk movies, TV, and all things I want for about half an hour to an hour once a week. And today, I'm once again flying solo as I talk about whether I am actually into comic book movies or not. But before I do that, before I get into that in my podcast today, I should say what I said at the start of every single podcast, that if you're listening to this on Spotify, then you can also watch it on YouTube. You can also watch this podcast on YouTube at Night of the Movies on YouTube. And likewise, if you are watching YouTube, hello there to my viewers. Did a little wave there for podcast listeners. If you are watching this on YouTube, but heck, you just don't have the time to watch the full podcast on YouTube, then you can also listen to it on Spotify at Night of the Movies on Spotify. And likewise, if you enjoy the podcast, please remember to subscribe, like, and do whatever you want to do, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Spotify. And also, if you are watching on YouTube, leave me some feedback on what I can improve on. Maybe you want more of Lewis on the podcast as well, maybe you don't, or maybe you want more of another special guest on the podcast, or maybe you just prefer, me flying solo. Maybe you like it when it's just me and you guys doing these podcasts together. Well, mainly just me, but still, you get the point I'm making. Do leave some feedback on what I can improve on, and also give me some ideas on what topics I can do in the near distant future. Just going to make sure my mic was still recording on my camera, but still, nonetheless, give me some ideas on some podcasts I can do in the future as well. I mean, I've still got some ideas over the next couple of weeks, especially with Christmas approaching. But at the same time, though, I'd love to get some ideas, especially so I can do them from like January onwards. I can maybe focus on some new ideas going forward, and hopefully the podcast might look a bit different you're watching on YouTube as well, because I'm in the mix right now, and this is a little like behind the scenes. There's like going behind the scenes here with my YouTube channel. I'm getting a new camera, hopefully. It's a bit complicated right now, and I'm trying to get the best one because I want to provide the best video quality for you guys watching on YouTube. So it's been a bit annoying, not gonna lie. It's not just been a bit annoying, it's been very annoying. Getting a new camera with the best video quality is one of the most annoying things to do in the world, because there's so many options to choose from. It's like, you can choose this one because it's got this, you can choose this one because it's got this, but it's not actually a video camera, but it still does videos and it's still doing really well. Or I can get this vlogging camera, which is really good, but at the same time, no, it's a hell of a lot of money, I only do this on a budget, I only have so much money. I mean, I'm trying to start a little business myself here, but, I'm not going to get into that just yet, but, I don't have all the money in the world right now, so trying to get a new camera has proven to be much harder than I anticipated it to be. But nevertheless, hopefully I should have a new camera with better video quality coming within the next couple of months. Probably after Christmas, actually, probably in the new year. But still, yes, if you enjoy the podcast, please remember to like and subscribe wherever you're watching or listening from. And also, I didn't say hello to my podcast listeners. Hello there for podcast listeners if you are listening online. And by the way, if you aren't listening on Spotify, please go and do so, because I don't get all the listeners in the world on Spotify. In fact, I haven't had many, and it'd be much appreciated, because sometimes editing audio, which I have to do when it goes on Spotify, by the way, well, most of the time anyway, sometimes they don't even have to edit audio because the podcast turns out fine. I don't have any interruptions. But like, sometimes when I have to edit audio to go on Spotify, or to go on Anchor, which I put on to go on Spotify, podcasting, that's what you have to do. Basically, that's more tricky than actually editing videos to a certain degree. But I'm not going to get into that. That's not, any importance to you guys whatsoever. But, like I said before, I'm going to be talking in this podcast about whether I'm actually into comic book movies or not. I'm going to answer the question that's honestly been burning a hole in my mind for a long time. And I'm going to go on to why very shortly. But just before I do that, I want to get two things off my chest. Andor is fucking amazing. I don't like swearing on the YouTube channel or on podcasts, whatever. I don't like swearing out there in the social world, in the world of YouTube and whatnot. I don't really like swearing whatsoever. But I have to emphasise my point in the best way possible. And Andor is just fucking amazing, and no one is watching it. Well, it feels like no one's watching it because no one's talking about it. Like, I remember when The Mandalorian was coming out, when the Book of Boba Fett was coming out, or when Obi-Wan was coming out, and everyone was talking about it on Twitter, having all these arguments. And that was fun in my opinion. I mean, sometimes it got a bit stupid, like when you get some real keyboard smashers online to go on and on about the little nitpicky problems in Obi-Wan and Boba Fett. Sometimes then it lost the joy of it for me, but I enjoyed just going onto Twitter after watching an episode of Boba Fett or watching an episode of Obi-Wan, and all these people just talking about their favourite parts of the episode and things like that. And I haven't seen that of Andor. I've seen it a bit, but not nearly as much as I thought I would. Andor's amazing. I honestly think if they called it something else, if they called it like The Shadow of the Empire or The Birth of the Rebellion, more people would have seen it. You can still have Andor in there as well, but the fact is they called it Andor, and also the sad fact is that Andor wasn't that big of a character in Rogue One. He was a supporting character, and as much as I did enjoy that character, as much as I did enjoy Diego Luna's performance as Cassian Andor in Rogue One, he's not one of the most memorable Star Wars characters ever, let's just say that. In fact, I think his droid, K2SO, pardon me there, but I think his droid, K2SO, in Rogue One is a more memorable character, and I'm hoping that we'll get to see that droid soon in the show. A lot of spoilers there, in case we haven't seen Andor yet, but that's not really a spoiler, because all I'm saying is we haven't seen K2SO yet. But at the same time, though, I understand why people are watching the show, but, I can't recommend it enough, and I just finished episode 9 this morning. I'm currently calling this on a Wednesday because my schedule right now is just so jam-packed, as I keep saying in every single YouTube video I do, or every single podcast I do. But, my schedule right now is so jam-packed, so I'm having to record this on a Wednesday, and I've only just finished watching Andor. But I literally finished the episode, and I was shaking because it was just that intense and that good. And, everyone has been saying, with whether it's the Marvel Disney Plus shows or the Star Wars Disney Plus shows, that they're not great TV, they're just fun TV. They're not on the level of House of the Dragon, or on the level of Succession, or on the level of whatever, or like Sopranos and things like that. They're not on that level. And Andor is, and not enough people are watching it though. When Obi-Wan came out, there's lots of people going, well, it's not on the level of, say, House of the Dragon. I mean, House of the Dragon was out by then, but it's not on the level as, say, Game of Thrones, or it's not on the level of Succession, and, I think that is correct. I think Obi-Wan was a massively flawed show. I still enjoyed it, but I was disappointed by it. But Andor, in my opinion, and this is just me, it's all subjective, but, in my opinion, Andor is the best TV show out right now. And yes, I'm a Star Wars fan. Yeah, I've got a Cully Toy Ewok back there, so I am a bit biased because I've liked all the Star Wars TV shows, even the Book of Boba Fett, which I think was hugely flawed. I still ended up enjoying. But Andor, if you take the Star Wars factor out of it, it is still a phenomenal show, and I can't say the same for Obi-Wan and Boba Fett, which is a big shame to say, actually, because I really love Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, but that show, I mean, I liked it, but, Andor is making Obi-Wan look like a banana skin left at the bottom of a bin that's just been there for 2 months that the big men can't even be bothered to pick up anymore. That's what it's making it look like, and that's a real shame. It really is, because Obi-Wan should have been brilliant. Obi-Wan should have had the production value of Andor, and I was talking about this with someone in my uni class, and we were both just going, imagine if Obi-Wan had the production value that Andor does, because Andor looks impressive. It looks like they spent so much money on it. The money is on the screen, in the same way the money was on the screen in the Lord of the Rings of Power show. It's just, yeah, I can't get over how good it is. The writing is superb, it's intense. The performances, there's an actor that's come into it recently, which I'm not going to spoil in case you haven't seen the show yet, but an actor, by the way, who's already been in Star Wars before. You might not have known he was in Star Wars before, but he was already in Star Wars. He's come into it now, and he's human form. That's, not going to go into too much detail there, but he's coming into it now. And he's phenomenal as well. If you've seen the show, I bet you know what I'm talking about. Stellan Skarsgård's great in it. Genevieve O'Reilly as Mon Mothma. There's so much character depth there. Also, what's her name? Adria Jonah. I might pronounce her name wrong. But she's brilliant as Bix as well. Like Andor's ex-lover. But there's much more to it than just that. And also, all the ISB stuff. All the stuff with the Imperial officers. That's riveting and exciting. Even so there's no action there. It's so exciting to watch, because the dialogue is just, it's like Alan Sorkin dialogue. It's almost like guns, firing. It's just, God, I love Andor so much, and not enough people are watching it. Honestly, if you haven't watched Andor yet, because you've been turned off by the other Star TV shows, you didn't think they were any good, so you didn't bother watching Andor, you haven't bothered watching Andor yet, go and check it out, because it's just, oh God, it's like I said before, it's fucking amazing. And it's not your typical Star Wars. I keep forgetting to mention that. Every single time I talk about Andor on this channel, which I've only done twice, by the way, but every single time I talk about Andor, I keep forgetting to say that it's not your typical Star Wars. It's different than Obi-Wan. It's different than Mandalorian. In fact, I think it's better than Mandalorian as a piece of TV. I think Mandalorian's more enjoyable, but still, it's different than Mandalorian, and it's different than Book of Boba Fett, and it's different than all the animated stars as well. And it's different than all the other, Disney Plus shows. It's different than all the Marvel Disney Plus shows. Like, everyone always says, why can't these Marvel and Star Disney Plus shows be just good TV? Andor is! Honestly, Andor is an Emmy Award-winning level show. I mean, granted, we're going to have to wait to see if he wins any Emmys till next year, but still, it's on the level of House of the Dragon. In fact, I think it's better than House of the Dragon. I don't care what anyone says. I think it's better than House of the Dragon. And I think it's on the level of Succession. And I love Succession. I think that show's fantastic. And even so I don't watch, even so I haven't seen all the TV in the world, I've seen enough TV to realise how and I'm going to say it, how fucking amazing Andor is. I don't usually swear, but to prove my point today, I just wanted to get across that Andor is it's a phenomenal show, and it just keeps getting better and better. And if you watch the first couple episodes and you thought, oh, it's a bit slow, I'm not really getting into it, give it more time. Just give it more time. Now 9 episodes are out, as of the time that I'm doing this podcast. Now that 9 episodes are out, just go and check it out. You can see how excited I'm getting about it. You can hear how excited I'm getting about it if you listen to this podcast, just because this show is it's something else, and I love it to pieces. So yeah, that's my big recommendation for Andor. But now let's get into the comic book side of this podcast, which I briefly mentioned, which I'm going to be talking about at the start of this podcast today. And that is answering the question whether I'm actually into comic book movies or not. But just before I do that, here's a little kind of segue, but a segue that will lead into what I'm talking about. And that's the fact that Henry Cavill is leaving The Witcher TV show. Now, I've only seen the first season of The Witcher. I didn't go out to watch the second series because it came out last Christmas, and from what I remember, I was watching all the Star Wars movies around that time. I do that every Christmas, by the way. Every Christmas Eve to, New Year, I try watching all the Star Wars movies, and if I can, all the Indiana Jones films as well. So, I don't think I was watching Witcher Series 2 when it came out. But I remember watching Witcher Series 1, and I remember enjoying it. I mean, to be honest, I don't remember much from it. I'd have to go back and watch it again, and, maybe I'll get a bit more fun. But, I remember really liking it. I didn't find it that compelling or that captivating, but it was a entertaining TV show, you know what I mean? Like, I have no connection to the source material, I've never played a Witcher game, but for me, it was a fun fantasy TV show. I mean, I need to see it again, but from what I remember enjoying it, if you know what I mean. Hopefully you do. And I didn't get around to watching the second series, but I remember really liking Henry Cavill in the first series of The Witcher. And also, I've enjoyed Henry Cavill. I enjoyed him quite a lot in the latest Mission Impossible film, Mission Impossible Fallout, in which, spoiler here, in case you haven't seen that movie, he plays the villain with his moustache. The famous moustache, by the way, if you know, but still nonetheless, he was also in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I really enjoyed him in, which, it's because of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. that everyone now says that he can play Bond. I think he'd be a good Bond. He wouldn't be the Bond that I'm going to choose. If I had the choice, I wouldn't choose Henry Cavill as the next Bond, put it that way. But, if he does become Bond, I'm all for it at the same time. By the way, I don't really have any viewpoint on who should be the next Bond. Little side note here. I don't really. I mean, to be honest, I would probably go with someone like, and this is just me, not really giving it any thought, I'd probably say someone like Richard Madden. But at the same time, though, like, if it's not Richard Madden, I'm not going to be heartbroken. Like, just get a good actor. That's what I'm saying. So get a good actor and make it good again. Make it poppy, make it a bit pulpy, that's what I'm trying to say. Make it a bit pulpy and make it a bit different and make it a bit more like the old Bonds, because I got a bit tired of the Daniel Craig Bonds. I mean, I quite enjoyed No Time to Die, but at the same time though, I got a bit tired of the Daniel Craig Bonds where he didn't want to be Bond anymore, but he kept being roped into the mission and things like that. Because he was doing it because he wanted to, because he didn't really want to, but he felt like he had to. I kind of got bored of, those sort of Bond movies that felt like, Bond didn't want to be Bond Bond anymore in the latest Bond films. But still, nonetheless, I'm hoping that the new Bond, reignites the franchise into something different, and they do something kind of unique and, dare I say, different going forward in the Bond franchise. But anyway, that's a side note. But I've really enjoyed Henry Cavill in things I've seen him in. I think I've seen him in something else. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But I also enjoy him as Superman. I must admit, I haven't seen any other Superman movies apart from Man of Steel. I really want to get round one day to watch. I really want to get round to watching the Richard Donner, Christopher Reeve Superman films, or the first Superman film anyway, because I think Richard Donner didn't direct the second. I think he got fired from Superman 2. But I really want to go and watch them because I've seen clips from them online, and it seems like they've got a lot of optimism in them. They seem like they make you feel, they just make you feel joyous, and they make you feel inspired. That's what those Christopher Reeve Superman movies do, like they do. And also, I didn't see, Superman Returns and Brandon Routh. Again, don't even know if I'm getting the actor's name right. And also, I haven't really seen much Superman movies. I've only seen Man of Steel, and I remember, to be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of Man of Steel, I'm going to admit. I liked Henry Cavill as Superman in that film. I liked Kevin Costner in there. I also liked Michael Shannon, he played General Zod. Also had Russell Crowe in that film, who I thought was a good... or was he with General Zod? You see, that's how much I remember from Man of Steel. I mean, I liked parts of it, particularly the Hans Zimmer musical score. Boom, 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 boom. I'm probably singing it quite badly. But at the same time, though, it kind of left me feeling a bit empty. I mean, I've only seen it once, and maybe if I saw it again, I'd like it a lot more. And I know for some hardcore Superman fans, some die-hard Superman fans, they think it's one of the best comic movies ever made. Personally, I think that's kind of laughable. I didn't really get much from it. I remember watching it thinking it was a movie, but it wasn't a particularly great one. And like I said before, I can't remember much from the film. And then, obviously, Henry Cavill returned in Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice, with Zack Snyder directing it again. And I don't hate Batman v Superman like some other people do. I think it has some interesting parts. And I'm going to say something controversial as well. I don't care what anyone says here. I remember watching Batman v Superman in the cinema back in 2016 and just being enthralled by Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Now, I don't think he's brilliant on reflection. I did watch the movie a couple of years ago again. I did watch Batman v Superman a couple of years ago again, and I remember not loving that character as much as I did, but I think Jesse Eisenberg was good as Lex Luthor. I think he gets way too much hate. But that movie is a bit of a slog. And the third act is just big CGI fights. And it's a bit too dark as well. It's a bit too dark. It's way too dark. And I did like Ben Affleck as Batman, but I felt like he just could have, I don't know, had a bit more fun with it. And I think he did when you get to the Zack Snyder Justice League cut. But at the same time, though, I don't know, Batman v Superman, again, it's kind of left me feeling empty. And then you get to the theatrical cut of Justice League, and you get the whole, oh god, CGI mustache fiasco. Pardon me again there, but yes, the whole CGI mustache fiasco. If you don't know, go and look it up. I'm not going to get into detail here. And that just distracts me from Henry Cavill's performance in that theatrical cut of Justice League. And then you get to the Zack Snyder Justice League, though, the Snyder cut, if you will, which I just absolutely adored. And I was really surprised I adored that film so much. I absolutely loved it because I just thought it was mental, and just Zack Snyder got the chance to make his version of Justice League, and he went all out, and I loved every second of it, I'm not going to lie. Even though it's 4 hours and it dragged in some parts, I just remember getting to the end of that movie and feeling like I could run a marathon. And I remember feeling a bit odd with that feeling, though. I remember going, why do I feel like that, though, with a Zack Snyder film? Because Zack Snyder directed Man of Steel, he directed Batman v Superman, and neither of those films really gave me much optimism, you know what I mean? Neither of those films really made me feel joyous, really made me feel like I could do something after I watched them, really made me feel like I had, accomplished an achievement like I had when I finished Zack Snyder's Justice League. But at the same time, though, yeah, I was really big surprised at Zack Snyder. I was just really surprised at what Zack Snyder did with his cut of Justice League. And yeah, as much as I do like him directing that cut of Justice League, though, much as I did like his direction in that movie because it just felt so epic, if you will, I really don't want Zack Snyder to direct another Superman film. And I'm hoping that when Henry Cavill returns to Superman in the distant future, slight spoilers there for Black Adam's post-credit scene if you haven't seen the movie yet, but still if you don't know, you can be living under a rock. But I'm hoping that when Henry Cavill returns as Superman, we don't have Zack Snyder directing. And I don't think we're going to have Zack Snyder directing anyway, because he's directing like his own Star Wars movie that's not actually a Star Wars film, it's called Rebel Moon, and basically the people of Star Wars refused it, so he's directing kind of a Star Wars movie that's not actually a Star Wars movie right now. It's got to do with Netflix as well. So it doesn't sound like Zack Snyder's going to be directing anything DC anytime in the next couple of years. But at the same time, though, I want a Superman film to be directed by someone who, you know, who can bring just a sense of joy to it and can make it a bit more self-knowing. And I've gone on a bit of a tangent there, and what I was meant to say was, I think that one of the reasons Henry Cavill is leaving The Witcher is because of Superman. It is because they're far into the Superman, it's because they're far into the production of a new Superman film than we actually think. And also there's some rumours as well going around that actually one of the reasons he's leaving the Witcher TV show is because he has arguments with the writers, and like there's been some reports saying that, and apparently some people in the crew on The Witcher as well kind of mocking the source material, and the source material means a lot to Henry Cavill. I don't know how true that is, and if it is true, that's a bit of a shame, because it does really sound like Henry Cavill wanted to play this part till he died, but at the same time, no, nothing lasts forever. But I think one of the reasons that Henry Cavill is leaving The Witcher is because of Superman. It's because there's a new Superman movie, or because he's going to make an appearance as Superman sooner than we think in the DCU. It's not the DCEU anymore, it's the DCU. Well, sometimes I lose track myself, but, you know, I really just want another Superman film to make me feel joyous, make me feel optimistic, make it a bit more self-knowing. Have the John Williams Superman theme in, you know, bum, 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 bum. Have that in there, but also have them, you know, Hans Zimmer Man of Steel theme in there as well. Have a bit of it both. Do something different in the score and make it a bit self-knowing. You know, have some tongue-in-cheek moments. But, you know, Henry Cavill as well has come out and said that he wants the film to, what's the quote here? He says here that the most important thing, which I'll be aiming for with this new Superman film, is for the audience to leave the cinema and to feel like they can fly, to feel like they can protect, and to feel like they want to give to everyone else. That would be my goal, and I'm all for that. I really just want us to come out of a Superman film and feel like I can fly, like Henry Cavill says there. And oddly enough, I'm a bit excited for a new Superman film. And that's kind of the point of my podcast today. When that new Superman film kind of got announced, I mean, it's not being officially announced, but when the reports coming through that a new Superman film is in the works, I got a bit excited. And ever since that happened, I've been starting to question myself. I've been starting to question whether I'm actually into comic movies for the past week or so. Apparently again there, sorry. But yeah, I've been starting to question whether I'm actually into comic book films because I got a bit excited about Superman. And you know what? I'm excited about Shazam 2, aka Shazam Fury of the Gods. And I'm excited about the Flash movie. Even though there's a lot of drama surrounding it, you know, the movie's good. I think that's going to solve all those issues, and from what I'm hearing, you know, The Flash is a really good movie from certain reports. And also I'm excited for Aquaman 2. I'm excited to see where James Gunn takes the DCU. I was about to say the DCEU, you know, it's a DCU, because basically last week it was announced that James Gunn, and what's his name? Just give me a second here. James Gunn and Peter Safran, must admit I don't know him, but still nonetheless, those two are going to be the new heads of the DC universe, the DC cinematic universe at Warner Brothers, which I think is just brilliant, because James Gunn has directed my favourite cult movies today. I love the first Guardians of the Galaxy film. I still think that is the best comic movie today. I also love the sequel, by the way. I also love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I know there's some people which don't. I don't understand that. Like, there's this YouTuber, by the way, and sign on here, a little segue. There's this YouTuber that I watch, who I greatly admire, by the way. I'm not going to name. But I remember he was talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and he's saying one of the reasons I didn't like it as much as the first one, because you had Drax the Destroyer in there, played by Dave Bautista, he didn't do any destroying. And I remember just watching him say that and thinking, what the fuck has that got anything to do with the quality of the film? Because in the end, if the film's good, the film is good. And in my opinion, although Guardians of the Galaxy 2 wasn't as good as the first Guardians of the Galaxy, it was still a hell of a lot of fun in my opinion. It had a really good emotional sense as well. Like, spoiler here, I remember the moment when, you know, Kurt Russell's ego, the villain of the film, says that he put the tumour in, Star-Lord's mum. I remember watching that moment in the cinema and going, oh my god, like, wow, I didn't think the film would go here, but it was. And yeah, I remember loving Guardians of the Galaxy 2 as well. And then he also directed the Suicide Squad last year. And although I didn't love the Suicide Squad on reflection, I remember in my first review of that movie, I remember saying it did. But although I don't love it on reflection, I still think it's a lot of fun. And one of the things I love about James Gunn's comic movies, whether it's Super as well, which he directed in 2010 with Rainn Wilson, one of the things I love about his comic book films is that they're different, is that they're subversive, that, you know, they kind of parody and kind of become a bit of a pastiche of the comic book genre with some of the past comic book films, but at the same time though, that he also makes a comic book movie, to go to me, like he'll parody previous comic book films and he'll make fun of them and make fun of the comic book movie tropes, but then he will still make a great comic book movie, if you got what I mean. And so I'm ecstatic that James Gunn is going to co-lead the DCU going forward. I'm ecstatic about that because James Gunn, in my opinion, has made the best comic book movies. Although I didn't love the Suicide Squad, I still did enjoy it, and I can't wait to see what he does next. I also know, by the way, that he did do the Peacemaker TV show. I've only seen the first couple episodes of that. I really need to go, you know, catch up on it now, especially because he's the head. I just haven't had enough time, to be honest. I'm just so busy, but still, nonetheless. Yeah, I do need to go and catch up with Peacemaker, but yeah, I think they couldn't have chosen someone better than James Gunn to be a co-lead. I know he's not the only one, and I don't really know what Peter Safran has done. I've heard that he's worked with James Wan before, and James Wan, of course, directed the first Aquaman film, and has directed the second one as well, which is coming out next Christmas. But at the same time, though, I'm just James Gunn, and apparently he's not always going to be, you know, one of the heads of DC. He's also going to be directing some DC films as well. Like, he won't be directing it as much, but there's some reports going around, and there's some rumours going around. These are just rumours, take them going to so, but there's some rumours going around that James Gunn's going to direct a Harley Quinn film with Margot Robbie returning, because he's spoken about before how Margot Robbie was his favourite actress to work with. And also, there's some rumours going around as well, and these are just rumours, take them going to so, but there's some rumours going around that James Gunn is directing the next Superman film, which I think would be brilliant. I don't actually think it's going to happen, because I think James Gunn is more about doing sort of niche comic book characters. Like, I'd never ever heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy before that movie came out in 2014. I'd never heard of most of the characters in the Suicide Squad before that movie came out last year. Like, Ratcatcher 2, I'd never heard of her before that movie came out. You know, Bloodsport, never heard of him. Peacemaker, never heard of him. The only two characters, or I suppose three characters, that I actually heard of before, I'd actually heard of from the Suicide Squad before that movie came out last year, were of course Harley Quinn, Boomerang, because he was in the first Suicide Squad film, I don't really like him in that movie, and also Amanda Waller, who was also in the first Suicide Squad film. All the other characters I hadn't heard of, or at least don't remember hearing of, and yet I just think he does these new characters so well, even so they, you know, even so you've probably not heard of the characters he's bringing into a DC film before, he makes you care about them though. And the thing is with Superman, it's something like the Shazam director said recently, where basically he said that he would never ever direct a Superman film because all the comic book, you know, geeks online, the hardcore comic book fans, would just have all their nitpicks about a new Superman film, and that you couldn't please everyone. And so I do get where he's coming from, and I don't personally think that James Gunn is going to go and direct a Superman film. I feel that if anything, he's probably going to direct another Suicide Squad movie, or maybe something different, maybe like, I don't know, a Harley Quinn film, but with some like niche characters put in there as well. But I don't think that James Gunn is going to direct a Superman film, but if he does, I will be first in line to that movie because I think James Gunn is a genius comic book director. And if he is directing the next Superman movie, that is going to get me more excited for it. And so going back onto my point that I'm making in this podcast, am I more excited? I'm actually into comic book movies now. And I think my answer is that I'm into different comic book films. I'm into diverse comic book films. I'm into comic book films that play on the genre or transgender, sorry, not transgender genre, transcend the genre. That's what I'm trying to say there. Comic book movies that transcend, that I can't even speak, that transcend the genre, like the Batman, like the Dark Knight trilogy, and like Joker. I don't really consider Joker a comic book film, but you get the point I'm making. I'm into comic book movies which are just different. That's the simplest way of putting it. I'm into comic book movies which are different. And like that's why I'm so excited for DC, because I think DC's biggest strengths, and that's why I'm a bigger DC fan than I am Marvel. I know people love Marvel to death, but at the same time, no. It's all subjective, by the way. If you do, that's awesome. I wish I did as well. But personally, I'm more of a DC fan, and I'm looking forward to the upcoming DC films more, because I know they're going to be different. I know they're not going to be the same thing. And also, it feels like they're taking time with their movies, and I'm looking forward to that. Even so, I detested Black Adam. I mean, I enjoyed it, but even so, I recognise that Black Adam is an awful film, at least in my subjective opinion. Even so, I think Black Adam is quite atrocious, to be honest. I still think DC are really, really good at just doing films which feel different and feel like their own thing. And I feel that going forward, DC are just going to be a lot better because I care about the characters more. Marvel at the moment feels like what Hollywood used to feel like back from like the 1930s to like the late 1950s during the Hollywood studio system. I might be getting my dates wrong there, but they feel like the Hollywood studio system are basically in the old Hollywood studio system. Basically, if a genre or film works, like say Western, they would just keep making Westerns, or they keep making musicals, or they keep making gangster movies because, audience went to go and see them. And that's what Marvel films feel like right now. Marvel just feels like it's always there, we can't get away from it. How many Marvel films have we had this year? Let's just think about that. We had She-Hulk, we had Thor: Love and Thunder, we had Doctor Strange 2, we had, what else we had? We had Miss Marvel, we've had loads more, I was forgetting on the top of my head right now. We've had Werewolf by Night, we've had, I'm going to look at some up, these Marvel films, give me a second, Marvel films of 2022. We've got Black Panther coming next week. We've had Morbius. I know that's not MCU, but at the same time, no, it's still Marvel. It's a Spider-Man Marvel film. Everyone, look at this one. Sorry about this. Give me a sec. We have Secret Invasion coming next year. We had Hawkeye out last Christmas. We had just look at the ones that came out last year as well, like Black Widow, you had Eternals, you had No Way Home, and you had, what else came out? Something else that came out last year as well. Oh, I'm forgetting it. What was it? You had all the Disney Plus shows still as well. Like you had, WandaVision that came out last year, that Falcon Winter Soldier, you had Loki, and you've had, What If, the animated TV show, which I know still isn't technically part of the MCU, but technically is. You've had so much Marvel content that's just always felt like it was there and you can't get away from it. Like, one of the reasons I talk about Marvel so much on this channel isn't because I want to, it's basically because, it's always on Disney Plus. Everyone's always talking about the latest Marvel Disney Plus show whenever they come out. You just can't get away from it. If you don't talk about the latest Marvel Disney Plus show, then I feel like I'm left out of the movie or TV conversation for like the next couple of months. You know what I mean? Because it releases weekly. And then when a new Marvel movie comes out, you get this cinematic drought where all the other movies are scared of releasing before that new Marvel film comes out. Like, tonight, my review of this will already be out by the time this podcast comes out, but tonight I'm going to go and see the Martin McDonagh film, The Banshees of Inisherin, but there's only one showing for that film, and, it's quite a late showing at that, and the reason is because there isn't many films out right now, and they're gearing up for Black Panther 2. And in fact, another reason that there isn't many showings of the Banshees of Inisherin in my local cinema, which is a multiplex by the way, which is an Odeon, another reason for that is because Black Adam's out. And I'm not saying that it's just Marvel, but at the same time though, every single time a Marvel film comes out, it feels like it's this big event, but it's always there. And they just take up so many cinema showings in my local multiplex. And if I want to go to a different cinema to see more movies, I have to travel like an hour to 2 hours to a different cinema, which I have done before, but it basically takes up a full day to go and watch a film, which I'm not even sure is going to work for me. You know what I'm saying? Whilst if I go to my local multiplex, that's only about a half an hour drive away, and not even that really, about 20 minutes, and that's just easy to get to, and it doesn't take up a full day. Like I'm going to cinema tonight. I've got the whole of the day to do other stuff though, like I'm doing right now. I'm doing this podcast because I've got the rest of the day free, whilst if I have to travel to another cinema, it's just going to take up loads more time. And the reason I would travel to another cinema though is to see more different films, see more of the non-blockbusters, the non-mainstream movies. But it's just difficult, and so for me personally, I can't get away from the superhero movies. All my friends want to go into them every time they come out. My family, they want me to watch like the Marvel Disney Plus ones with them, and most of the time I don't really want to. I don't look forward to it, and like I want every Marvel film to be good, and by no means do I have a hatred of Marvel, but I just get annoyed at them because they're always there, and it feels at the moment more than ever, and I've always felt this, to be honest, but more than ever right now, it feels like Marvel are overproducing, and it feels like their morality, their tagline should be quantity over quality. And I feel that DC is more quality over quantity. Granted, the past couple of DC films haven't been brilliant. I didn't like Black Adam, really. I mean, I enjoyed it for the wrong reasons. Wonder Woman 1984 should have been a lot better. And, there's another example I'm thinking of that I just forgot. I know some people didn't like Birds of Prey, though I did enjoy it, but still you get the point I'm making. I know the past couple of DC films haven't been brilliant, but at the same time though, there's more DC films, and this is completely the truth, there's more DC films, for me, I like more DC films than I like Marvel movies. That's what I'm trying to say. I like more DC films than I like Marvel films, because Marvel just, it feels generic, and they all feel like they're the same. I know they're not. I can watch those movies and go, actually, these are clearly from different directors, but in the end, they feel the same to me. You know what I mean? Like, they feel like they're just jigsaw pieces of the ever-growing incomplete jigsaw puzzle that is the MCU. I've said that before, but it is the truth, and I do these sort of videos on the YouTube channel every single couple of months because I just can't get away from Marvel. They're always there, and so I've kind of got to the point now of acceptance. People going about like the 4 stages of depression. I've got to the point of acceptance now. I accept that comic movies exist and that you can't get away from them. And so you just gotta go with them, which is what I'm doing. And so that's why I'm getting excited for DC, and that's why I'm not getting excited for Marvel. And in the end, I'm getting more into comic book movies now, but I'm getting into ones that are different. And I don't know how well I've made my point, but the point is that I'm trying to say, that I'm trying to make it as clear as possible, but I don't know if I have made it as clear as possible because my head is literally all over the place this morning. But the point that I'm trying to make in this podcast is that I don't get excited about Marvel movies. I don't get excited about them because they're always there, and for me personally, they feel the same. I know they're not. I know if you watch them, they're clearly from different directors. But for me, they feel the same, and they feel like they're constantly shoving down their movies and their TV shows and their TV movies and whatnot down our throats. Whilst DC don't. I look forward to a DC film more. And in fact, the latest DC film that wasn't Black Adam, which isn't part of the DCU with, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman and whatnot, the latest DC film, The Batman, is still my second favourite movie of the year. My first favourite is, of course, Elvis, but at the same time, though, The Batman is my second favourite film of the year because it transcends the comic book genre. It's not just a comic book movie. You take the comic book factor out of The Batman, it's still a brilliant, dark, gritty crime thriller, at least in my opinion. I know some people aren't the biggest fans of The Batman, and that's completely understandable. It's quite a dark and moody and honestly quite depressing film in some parts, but I love it. It feels like Seven meets The Dark Knight, and I love that about it. And I love that about the Dark Knight films as well, and I can't wait for Joker 2, which is calling it Production, because it's going to be a musical, and that sounds genius. But the reason I'm so excited about this movie is because I think they will transcend the comic book genre. What I'm hearing, The Flash does that, and I feel like Marvel movies, in the end, are just comic book films. That's the thing. So I suppose what I should say, what I really should have thought about before I did this podcast, is that I'm into comic book films that don't always feel like comic book movies. There you go. And so my answer of whether I'm actually into comic book movies or not is that I am into comic book movies that do things differently, that aren't just generic, that don't always feel like a comic book film. And if you take the comic book factor out of such a movie, it is still a good film, or it's still a great movie, or it's still or it's still a brilliant film, like The Batman, like, say, the Dark Knight movies, like, say, Joker. I know you used that example already, but like, say, Shazam as well. In my opinion, if you take... Actually, I don't really know about that. I wouldn't say Shazam transcends the comic book genre, but what I do love about Shazam, the first Shazam movie, is the fact that it feels like the Tom Hanks movie Big meets superheroes. And I feel that the superhero factor, that is what makes it so brilliant. And I'm by no means saying that the first Aquaman is brilliant either, and I think that the superhero factor that actually makes it better. So maybe I'm not saying that, but at the same time, though, I like movies like Shazam and Aquaman though because they're different. It just goes back to what I'm saying before, because they are unique and they stand out. If I go to watch a movie like Shazam, it doesn't feel like a Marvel film. It doesn't feel like another generic comic movie. It feels like its own thing. It just feels like a film about family and a film about dealing with escapism and stuff like that. I love that first Shazam movie because of the way it kind of uses that whole theme of escapism is in there. And I don't love the first Aquaman movie. I don't think it's that good, to be honest. But Aquaman was just it was a movie that I had a lot more fun with than I expected to. Zack Snyder's Justice League feels like it's just an amazing comic movie left, right and centre. And even though it does feel like a comic book film, it doesn't feel like you could lump it in with the other comic movies that came out that year. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you do. Don't know if I've made my point too well in this podcast today. I say that in most of my videos and most of my podcasts. But still, nonetheless, you can't get away from comic movies nowadays. You just can't. And so I'm beginning to accept that they're just here to stay. And I'm also beginning to get into the DC comic book films. I'm beginning to look forward to a new Superman film. Look forward to what James Gunn does with the DC universe going forward. And also, I'm looking forward to seeing comic book movies that are different. That can still feel like a comic film, but at the same time, though, use that to their advantage. And don't just put it on the back burner. I feel that Marvel movies, and it's all subjective. If you love Marvel films, that's the thing which matters most. I'm just a random loser on the internet saying this. But it feels like Marvel movies, at least for me, just kind of... If you took the comic book movie element out of them, they wouldn't be that good. But that's just me. And so, that's the point I'm making. I suppose in the end, I am into comic book movies that don't always feel like comic book films, but sometimes can, I suppose, and that transcend the comic book genre, and that transcend the comic book genre, and that are also different, and that are just more memorable. And so that is the end of this podcast today. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you understood the points I was making. Maybe got some other points. Maybe you want to have a bit of an argument with me in the comic book section. If you do, please let me know down below. And also, if you haven't yet, please do click down, please do like and subscribe if you watch on YouTube, and if you are listening on Spotify, leave me some feedback and subscribe to the podcast as well on there. Download it, do whatever you want to do. But yes, thank you as always for watching, and I hope you did enjoy this podcast, whether you listened to it or whether you watched it. So thank you as always for watching, and I suppose I'll see you guys again soon. And by the way, watch Andor. Watch Andor. See you guys again soon. But bye for now. Bye.